All right, young scholars, this is Mr. Martyr. This is another video with the Industrial Revolution. We're again joined by some of your colleagues and classmates. This video, we're going to talk about Great Britain leading the way. So again, what you want to do is you want to have at your Cornell notes, and we're going to be right in this middle section here. Great Britain leads the way. We're going to talk about Great Britain leading the way, and we're going to talk about changes within the textile industry. All right, so Great Britain leading the way, we know that England is an island, and what we want to do is we want to explore why this tiny island became one of the most powerful nations in the world. How did this tiny island, smaller than the United States, smaller than the size of New Jersey, how did it come to dominate the entire world? There's an old adage that the sun never set on the British Empire. Well, we need to take a look at that. In order to answer that question, we need to take a look at how Great Britain industrialized.
So, Mr. Martin, why did the Industrial Revolution begin in Great Britain?
Hello, students. Ryan Alverson here. I'm here to answer this question proposed by Symphony. Why Great Britain? I don't know why. There you go. Geographic winner. Great Britain had a lot of coal and iron, which made them the geographic winner.
Well, thank you, Ryan, for that insightful analysis. But yes, he in fact is correct. Great Britain was geographically blessed to have all sorts of natural resources. Chief among those natural resources were coal and iron. Why is coal and iron important? Well, we know that coal is going to be used to develop steam-powered engines later in the Industrial Revolution. And we know that iron, from one of our previous videos, iron is going to be used when it's smelted and when it's bound together, it's going to be used to develop stronger, better, bigger buildings.
Great Britain had the right mixture of raw materials, such as wool and cotton.
Great job, Ryan. That's right. Great Britain also had the right mixture of resources, such as wool and cotton. What are wool and cotton used for? Well, remember, again, from your previous flip video, England takes the lead in industrialization because of changes in the textile industry. Wool and cotton from the Americas coming over to them were vital to their development in the Industrial Revolution.
Great Britain also had laborers, which are people who worked. And also they had money to invest, which is called capitalism.
Excellent job, Symphony. And what Symphony was just talking about, she said, laborers are people with money to invest. Well, what economists thought or believe very strongly in the size of a nation and the power of a nation relies on its labor force? Well, that was none other than Adam Smith. So make sure you underline, star, or highlight his name. He's, again, going to be a very important person in our studying of the Industrial Revolution. And people with extra money to invest, they had that capital. And that's where we're going to see a dramatic shift in the economy, change from a mercantile economy, which is primarily the age of exploration, to a capitalistic economy in the 19th and 20th centuries. As we've seen, the first change to happen in England was the textile industry. And here, Symph and Ryan are going to talk a little bit more about how those changes occurred.
In the 1700s, machines allow people to make cloth much faster.
And because of that, people needed machines. So as the explorers are bringing back raw materials and resources from the Americas, people need devices that will help them make clothes, make cloth a lot more faster. They needed to keep up with the surging demand. Early machines were too large and too expensive to be operated at home. So the early factories, guys, believe it or not, were nothing more than tiny sheds that were in different parts of the home or different parts of the property. And that's going to be a key to understand, because a lot of people think when they think of the Industrial Revolution, they'll think that, oh, big factories and machinery and the assembly line. Well, no, take a good look at the picture on the right-hand side of your screen. The early factory workers the early factories were nothing more than what's called the domestic system, which is people working outside their home in small sheds, creating cloth and spinning and weaving fabrics together to produce textiles.
Spinners and weavers worked in long sheds that became the first factories.
Thank you, Ryan. And now let's take a look at some of the changes in transportation. The first major change in transportation occurred when James Watt improved the steam engine. All right, he harnessed the power of steam engine using coal, using fire to produce a steam engine. Because early British countries used the canal system. Before we had railroads, before we had major roadways, these tiny engines powered little boats that ferried alongside these canals. This was a very quick way to transport goods from one place to another.
Canals and stronger bridges were also constructed to aid in the transportation of manufactured goods. This was vital to transportation.
So like we said, James Watt improves the steam engine that powers boats, and he uses the canal system and the bridge system to effectively navigate throughout England. And in a minute, we're going to take a look at a map that shows you the canal system. The steam locomotive by George Stephenson also is going to develop the idea of the railroad. So transportation is going to be changed quite dramatically during this time period. As you guys can see, here's a map of the British canal system in the early 1800s. You can see most of the canals, these small waterways, linked the different coal fields together. Okay? And taking a look at this, which city, make a prediction, which city or small village is going to be the epicenter? Well, believe it or not, it's not going to be London, but it's going to be Birmingham and Manchester and Leeds. They're going to be tremendous small towns and cities with regard to the canal system. But what's better and more important than canals? What's faster? And that's railroads. So here you guys can take a look. The railroad systems developed between 1840 and 1850. In 1840, on our left-hand side, there's only really one main rail line that connects London with Birmingham and Manchester, and Edinburgh up in Scotland is more or less on its own. But as we take a look, by 1850, it's a little bit cut out by your screen, Manchester, Birmingham, and London are connected, and as is Dublin with the Irish coast. So within 10 years, the British railroad industry explodes and connects the tiny island of England. All right, we're going to go over some of these concepts a little bit more in class. If you feel that we went too fast or you need to watch this video again, please do so. The notes are available online. And I would like to thank Allison and Paul and Ryan and Symphony for joining me on this Flip Classroom.
Sign off.